So now the recording has started. But Desire was a 2-year project with 24 organizations. We had 2 years of experimentation at 8 different sites in 5 different countries in Europe. And our key question was, how do you make urban sustainability or circular transition so attractive that it barely seems like a choice? Desire stands for Designing the Irresistible Circular Society. And irresistibility is a key word and has been a key word in our activities all through the 2 years. Key objectives was to create a learning environment around and beyond the 8 sites, or what we call lighthouse demonstrators. During these experimentations, we had quite a few outcomes in my perspective. First of all, we had some tools and methodologies that can be accessed and used in many different contexts. We also produced, I hope some of you will be able to include people. Yeah, good, thank you. And we also co-created Desire Principles, 5 Desire Principles that can be viewed as a kind of lenses and perspectives that can assist your focus in urban transformation. And then, of course, the 8 lighthouse demonstrators, of which we're going to meet one of them today, could say that they're unique narratives about placemaking and urban transformation from each of their perspectives, and bringing new ways of doing this into our community and into life. And then, of course, all our learnings are gathered aggregated at a website, which we call our digital learning hub. This is where you can access all the stories and all the information. Sorry, Tiger, I hear that you have a lot of echo. I don't have any echo, so I'm sorry about it. I think it must be somehow your connection. And then we have this Irresistible Cities Lab, through which these seminars and webinars will be conducted. So now to this first webinar, and I'm really happy to be able to introduce our Amsterdam Lighthouse demonstrator, the Wildeman neighborhood in Amsterdam New West area. The title is, How do you co-create a local community with the power to transform? And I think this is exactly what they have achieved in Amsterdam. And of course, it's not done. But I think these 2 years has provided a massive, an impressive first step towards a true transformation. But it's not me who will be speaking. We have 3 distinguished guest speakers, you could say 3 people from the Amsterdam Wildeman neighborhood here today. One is Diana Krabbendam from The Beach, which is an NGO in this area. She's a Sustainist and Civic designer and has been involved directly in Desire. And the same goes for, please all of you mute your microphone. And it also concerns Rosalie Bak, who is from another NGO called Samenwonen-Samenleven. And Rosalie, you are a social designer. I think you could also call yourself an activist, or that you call yourself an activist or an artist, perhaps. I've learned that you have many different titles. I'm sure you will be speaking about it as well. And you have also been directly involved in Desire. And then we have Martin ten Brinke from one of the Design and Do groups in Wildeman neighborhood, or the ODGs, as you call it in Amsterdam, and you have been involved directly in transformation activities. So I will stop talking, but then I will start sharing my screen and give you access to the presentation from Amsterdam. Okay, so. I haven't introduced the program. Perhaps you should do that, Diana. Otherwise,
I
I
will do
can do
that.
that. Good.
I will do that. Okay.
Please, Diana.
So, welcome everyone. Well, at first, the program will be like, as you can see in the slides. So there will be a short presentation of myself, Martin and Rosalie. And then there will be the opportunity after the presentation to ask some questions to clarify, not to start the discussion yet. So it's only 15 minutes maximum. And then we will go into breakout rooms. And I think you prepared 10 breakout rooms. I don't know if that will be too much, but there will be breakout rooms where all of you can start a small conversation about what you've heard. And there are also some questions later on about the questions a little bit more. So you will be helped to structure your conversation. And then after the breakout rooms, we will reflect on it shortly, because we are really interested in what you have talked about, of course. And then we will end with a short conclusion and a glimpse into what will comes up next by Åsa. The next slide. Yeah, of course, welcome to the Wildeman neighborhood, and I'm really glad that some people that have been participating in the design and do groups and in the Desire project in the Wildeman neighborhood are here as well. So not only the people that are officially speaking, but also some other people like Mohammed and Maria Edith and Daniel I've seen. So please add things, or, well, if you like to say something, do it. So that's also possible, of course. And especially in the discussion afterwards. About the Wildeman neighborhood. Well, the Wildeman neighborhood is a typical post-war social housing area in Amsterdam New West. So it's a mid-size housing area with a very mixed group of residents. The neighborhood is known for the issues that are which you can find in this neighborhood. So there are all kinds of negative stories and narratives about the neighborhood, especially in the news. At the same time, the neighborhood is also quite under pressure because there is urban renewal. Some of the houses have been demolished already, so there are plans in development. People in the neighborhood are participating in thinking about how the renewal will take place and what kind of neighborhood it will become. But important is also that there is something like what we call social structure. There's a coalition of residents and NGOs, and there is quite some history in collaborations in the neighborhood of all kinds of people that do have ideas, that would like to take up initiatives and look for how they can collaborate in this. So where we started with the Desire project was not from zero. So there was a lot going on already. So that's interesting to know up front. Two of the NGOs that are active in the neighborhood for quite some time are Samenwonen-Samenleven and the Beach, and also Stadsboerderij Osdorp, the organization of Martin ten Brinke. So we do have NGOs that are participating in this, let's say, ecology that's already there in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. What happened when we started, when we had this opportunity to collaborate in the Desire project, is that we decided actually to ask people from the neighborhood that are already active to think along about what kind of topics they would like to address, what kind of topics we would like to work on, and also how we can do this. So the idea came up to create design and do groups, as we call this. So design teams that are led by the residents of the neighborhood. So we asked people in one of the first meetings we had, who is up to leading these groups, who would take the effort to start this all up. And that's what happened. So a couple of topics were defined in this early phase of the project, like neighborhood economy, healthy connections, peaceful neighborhoods, and Wildeman Green. So all topics that were not out of the blue, so they were built upon things that were already happening, ideas that were already going around. So that's how we started with these design and do groups. And it was also interesting in this context of a neighborhood in renewal, physical renewing, the redevelopment of housing and the public space, that the topics people wanted to work on are more about how they can make places and situations for civic engagement. So not so much about the physical development, but more about the social development. Next slide, please. So what happened is that we framed the task we were looking for, as a design process, a local co-design process. So very much dedicated to the neighborhood, to the let's say the nearby situation of people living in a neighborhood, people meeting each other physically, knowing each other or not, but it was easier for people to connect physically and in this size of the neighborhood. So the size matters in this respect. It was not about, in general, thinking about how we can co-design around topics, but more about how can we try to find solutions or new routes or ways for the local community, for the living environment of the neighborhood. So this is important because it makes possible that people can think about things that are not too big, not too far away, they're around them, it's something that's part of their daily lives. So that's where we started. And what soon became apparent is that what this design is about is very much driven by the values we think are important. So the discussion about what are the values we share, the values we think are important to embrace. So that was part of what happened in a lot of discussions, meetings, presentations, talking about the values. In this process, design process, for most of the people, the whole idea of designing things was new. So what is design anyway? So we had to ask ourselves the question, what is designing in a local context with people that are part of the community in the driving seat? It was not only new for the people that do not have a design background, but also for us, the people in the beach, which is a co-design, social design organization, and Samenwonen-Samenleven. So also for us, it was very new to rethink the way we are designing locally, collaboratively, in an inclusive way, and in an engaging way. So that was something that was part of the process that we met, and we had talks about what are we doing anyway? What is this community-led design, and where does it bring us? So that's what happens in the community. But later on, also people from, and we'll come back to that later, from the municipality or other partners became part of this discussion. How can we do this together? Because that's the only way to achieve the transitions we are looking for, and also let's say the challenge of the new European Bauhaus was calling for an inclusive, circular and beautiful transition. So that's not something that can happen within the frames we know. So we have to redevelop, to rethink the way we can design together. And that's very much about sharing what we have learned, sharing our thoughts, sharing the tools and the things we have developed, because that's the only way to make a movement and to create something that can really make a transition happen. So the sharing part was also important in it. So it meant that actually the ODGs and the people that have been involved in this Desire project, they were a kind of community of practice. They were playing a role in making a stronger fabric in a neighborhood, building relationships in a neighborhood, and what we called building or creating a neighborhood ecology, an ecology where the relationships become stronger and stronger. Next slide, please. Okay. Now I can hand over to Rosalie. Is that okay with you?
Rosalie? That's okay. I knew this was coming, and I'll make it brief. Hi everyone, my name is Rosalie, and indeed I have a background in design and working with communities, and maybe sometimes a little bit of an activistic attitude to life. Yeah, maybe coming back to figuring out new ways of working, I think what I've come to realize is that while the title of this talk is, right, co-creating communities, it's actually not so much the community itself that needs to be co-created, because the communities are already there, right? There's people living there, there's organizations living there, there's past wishes, there's past tensions, there's past relationships, and it's more about the question is more like, how do you work within that complex systems of relationships and dependencies, and then come to steps that you want to take together. And so I think maybe the co-creation needed to happen more on the level of creating a shared vision for the neighborhood. And at a certain moment, midway in the process, we had a session with all the ODGs, all the groups present, and they were invited to come up with a neighborhood vision. And what I loved about that moment is that it spoke to a sort of holistic approach to the neighborhood, right? Where there's opportunities for everyone, where the neighborhood is beautiful, but you can also earn a living, right? And that all those flows of ideas, systems, products, but also cash flows back into the community, right? And there's a saying for this, right? It's called community wealth building. And there's partners and systems and other cities working on it, for instance, such as Preston. But here, these ideas really came from the community. And that really, worked as a quite remarkable vehicle, I think, to really get things going, because it allowed for a sort of shared understanding of a topic, right? Improving the neighborhood from these many different levels. And so you can move forward, not only by supporting the ODGs in bringing their plans forward, but also helping them or supporting them in finding access to networks and resources that can bring forward their ideas. And this is also why I'm now very excited to see in the call that, yes, we have the ODGs here, right? But there's also people here, for instance, who work with the Amsterdam municipality on the topic of community wealth building. And there's also someone here from the Commons Lab. So building this community around community wealth building in order to activate change, I think, has been really inspiring to me. Mainly also because last week or 2 weeks ago, I attended a fantastic opening of the Green Cooperation. And so I happily hand over the presentation to Martin to tell a little bit more about it. And that will be the next slide also for your information. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you, Rosalie. I'm one of the members of the Wildeman Groen, zoals call in Holland, Wildeman Green. And we made we are one of the design and do groups, and during this Desire program we made some nice small green places with a school, with a street for children, for a meeting place for parents, and some small programs around those places. Working with residents, but especially I should say working with their concerns and working with their ideas and wishes, and to make it to make Wildeman Groen more green and more as it should be, with the ideas and all the wishes of people themselves. Jumping already to a conclusion, now we are in the middle of, Rosie told already, of the Groen Coöperatie, Green Cooperation, which is about same ideas, same values, same principles as Wildeman Groen, but on a larger scale, I should say, and also a little, no, more than a little, maybe other focus and goal for supporting the lot of green projects and initiatives that are all around in Wildeman Groen, Osdorp, and whole place of New West. So means we can support. We started. We had to start this March, but we already were working for half a year, and our goal is to support Wildeman Groen and all the others. Support with people, support with means, being a network, getting a lot of know-how together, but also on a very respectful way, I should say, to all these local initiatives of Wildeman Groen, because I think that Wildeman Groen and all the others, they are so important. They are so important. So it's also like a modest attitude, I should say, to Wildeman Groen. So it's very important that Wildeman Groen still continues, and that's, I think it will work, but we're still not there. But more important, I should say, maybe I can tell about it more in one of the other sessions. We started now a nice big project around Wildeman Groen, which is, I should say, a nice pilot, nice experiment, because at the start, municipality, the designer, the neighborhood, Station Wildeman, community place, Wildeman Groen and Groen Coöperatie, we all together started from the start to work together and to make it happen. We just started to make it happen all together. So it's learning, it's an experiment, but I'm really fun and very joyful about that this happens, and really very curious about how this process will work and what will be the results. But the process in itself is important, as also that's not only the result. That's my contribution at the moment, Vienna.
Thank you, Martin. Next slide, please, Elsa. Okay, so you've heard a few things about what happens if citizens take the lead in defining their own values and how they can share them, how they can make places to engage and activate people, how they can collaborate locally, and when they become co-designers of the wealth for their community, and also how they can create these strong relationships and ecologies. This is, well, more in general, but when we look at the outcomes of the Desire project and what the ODGs did, it was very concrete, things that you can grasp, like what Martin just told, the Green Cooperative, which is really interesting because from this very small scale of the neighborhood, it is scaling up to a initiative that will work on the scale of the New West area. And for people who do not know, Amsterdam New West is an area where around 160,000 people live. So this is let's say, the size of a small or mid-sized town. So from this very small idea and making very close relationships that work because people know each other, people trust each other, you can scale up if you find the right way to do it. For instance, experimenting with this cooperative model. So that's what happens, but also things like the idea for the initiative of a local newspaper was one of the results, different kinds of outdoor meeting places, a healthy breakfast for elderly people, a local coffee brand, making media with youth to boost a more peaceful neighborhood, but also to turn the image of the neighborhood that is most of the time quite negative into a positive one. So these are quite some achievements in 2 years' time. And what you already have seen in the story of Martin, this is only the beginning. So a lot of things are still evolving, they are in development. More cooperatives are starting up, like the cooperative Wildeman, Circular Wildeman, for local waste collection just started, so it's official now. So there are more things like this are starting up with a long-term perspective. So that's something to keep in mind. This is not just playing around for 2 years and then going back to to what has been usual. So altogether, you can say, next slide, please, also. This is a radical turn. The things we did and the things we set up all together with the ODGs in the Wildeman neighborhood changes everything. It changes the way we collaborate, so how we build relationships. It requires new roles, as I already mentioned, also for us as the people in the ODGs, the people in the neighborhood, but also for the people in the municipality, for instance, that have been involved in the community wealth building program. And this is a hard thing to do because it's not just a person-to-person relationship, but people are connected to networks, or connected to their colleagues, to other people. So they always have to explain what they are doing. So they have to take account for what they are doing. So that is a process that will not happen overnight. So it also needs the capacity building of all of us, and it needs support. So we do have to organize the support of finding these new roles, learning new roles, new ways to act, very practical things. And how do you communicate with each other, trying to speak languages that people can understand, because people are used to speak the language within their group, but talking to people that are not everyday part of your group is something else. So that needs a lot of attention. What also happens is that it needs places or hubs or sets of places where people can meet, where they can collaborate, where they can own the place as well, and not only are allowed to go there in, let's say, working hours. So it also needs places that can be owned by people. That's something that has been discussed very often in the Wildeman Desire project, on how can we make places where people can meet, where they can organize things because they want to do it, and not because somebody allows them to do this. So it changes everything. And what's important, that it's not just about something of one domain, the social domain or the cultural domain or the ecological domain. Now it's everything at the same time. It happens at the same time because it happens in daily life. And that's where things happen at the same time all the time. So people are not boxed into some kind of domain. It happens in their daily lives. And so that's what we also have to learn, that we can we can reach out to worlds we do not understand well. So it needs curiosity, it needs effort, it needs leaving behind fear to do things that are unknown to you. Next slide, please, Åsa. So a lot of things happened in the Wildeman neighborhood. So we've learned a lot from the practice over there, but also in the Desire project, we met very often with the people from the other sides, like in Riga, like in Copenhagen, like in Milan and Turin. And so it was really interesting to see that what we are doing in the neighborhood in a neighborhood in Amsterdam is not so very far away from what happens in other cities, although the situations are very different. Not only the local context is different, but also the people that have been taking part as partners in the project. Sometimes it was a municipality, in our case it were NGOs, sometimes it were more academics, or housing corporations. So it depends very much on where you start the process. But in the end, we have seen that there were a lot of similarities and things that we could learn from, where we could learn from each other. And we were so happy that at the end of the Desire project, there was some budget left to make a book about this, about what we have learned at all the sites. So I don't talk about it too long because we are running out of time, but you can look it up. It's on the website. It's digital. You can look it up on the website of Desire. It's called Belonging by Connecting, and it's not a very difficult book to understand. It's more like a travel companion, and it offers a very hands-on framework, co-design. It's a guide for co-design, and it's also very action-oriented. So please take a look at it, and it can be helpful in your daily process, hopefully. Thank you so much. Also, I think we are going to the breakout rooms now. Oh no, we do have time for some questions to clarify, because maybe there are some questions about what we've told. Who has a question? Raise your hand, please, if you have a question or something you would like to clarify. Maybe the people from the ODGs, Maria Edith, Daniel, Mohammed, I don't know. Nobody? It was all clear. Oh, wow. Do you want to say something, Mo, with Daniel?
There's one from Sebastian.
Yeah, well, Daniel raised his real hand. So.
Yeah. Okay. There was another one raising his real hand. Okay.
Yes.
Please. Yeah.
Daniel.
Okay. No, I think I have no questions. I can.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Daniel.
Can you hear me? Maybe my headphones are not with the stuff. I'm doing like this, but hear me better now? This is better. Okay. My name is Daniel, and we are from my colleague Mohammed. We are from Young Observe United, and we are one of the ODGs in Amsterdam, in the Wildeman neighborhood. And we take it on the youth of our world, and we organize different workshops for the youth in art, film, and also music. So we made a number, a hip-hop number that they worked in the studio and recorded as well. And then we make a documentary about the neighborhood and especially about Amsterdam West. And to specify, the documentary is more like we want to share the beautiful stories of Amsterdam West, the people that make it so good, and we close the project with a community party, and there we performed the the shows, and we also have a gallery there with all our artworks, and also we showed our documentary and did the performance of the hip hop number. So that's a small summary of the whole project.
Thank you, Daniel, for this addition to the presentation. That it's important indeed to mention that a lot of young people are in a way part of a learning program where they can learn to become media or content producers. Thank you. Somebody else, Sebastian, you'd like to say something?
Oh, sorry, Sebastian, we can't hear you.
I think maybe Daniel raised their hands through the comments, like stating that Daniel was not easy to hear, or not, Sebastian? We can't hear you.
Sebastian, could you put your question or comment in the chat, perhaps? Sorry, it's
No, can't hear you. Okay, maybe can you put it in the chat? Not working. Maybe in between somebody else who wants to say something, ask something. No, not for now.
Well, okay, I had actually a question. Because Martin ten Brinke, you've informed about your work in the Wildeman Green. I would like to hear what do you do on a very practical basis, and how many are you? Are you just you, or how many is involved in this work? Just need to unmute yourself. The microphone on the top bar to the right.
Yeah, so there I am. Yeah, good question. Because when I was the only one to do this, I would have left Wildeman buurt, because I think that's just so important to do it all together, and that's the joy of doing together. It's the joy of what Stadsboerderij Osdorp is. It's also a designing place where there's a lot of joy and cooperation and new initiatives and open space for everybody. And that's how we work up there. So when we work at, like, for instance, a little small green place for children to play at the Zonderbuur, we did the designing with the children and some mothers. And so it came a place as it is now. So, and still we have the connections with those people. Because the continuity is very important, because otherwise after a half a year it will be a mess. So continuity, to be sustainable, to keep connected and open and learning all together is very important. So at several places, like with the school and their place, we work with the classroom and the teachers. So these projects, we work with the people among this project. That's how it works. So it changes the people with whom we work.
Thank you. Was it that you met once a week, or was it more sort of flexible, dynamic?
So more flexible. More times like some focus on a lot. Some weeks working hard together and getting it done. And now comes the new project. I already told it will be a very a nice big place also to be an experiment how to work together. And then I suppose then I already said that for me it's the joy and it's the learning because we all start together. All the people who have interest and live there and play there and also the municipality, so it's in the start. We start together, and I think that is getting new roles. Diane already said it's learning. It's not knowing how this will go, but we start together, and well, let's find out.
Okay,
Martin, maybe if I can ask you, Martin, because right, you're not only now working with different parties within the neighborhood, right, from the municipality to youngsters to schools, but also you're setting up this green coöperatie, the cooperation, and you recently launched that together with your group. How many people are now involved in the cooperation, would you say?
Yeah, so I already said the kickoff of 6 March. We work together with the national program and community wealth building. They're supporting us. Important to say so too. We don't do it alone. You do it with a lot of people. That's very important, so to say. So we started 6 months. They had to kick off, and in 10 days, like 20 people knocked on the door and they want to have work, a job. For us, the important elements of our cooperation is getting jobs, So like 20 people already knocked on the door. So it's a good job and a good time now to get the work, and the people matched together.
That's spectacular, Martin. 20 is a lot.
But the group now is like 10 people big. Yeah.
Yeah, but congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
I see that Sebastian did insert a question in the chat, so I'll just read it aloud. What is being done to unite these communities with other neighborhoods? And I think that's a very interesting question, because you have one neighborhood in Wildeman, but I suppose there are other neighborhoods beyond Wildeman.
Is this a question to me?
I think all of you perhaps could answer with different perspectives.
Well, I can say something about it, because the idea of setting up cooperatives is part of it. So it's sharing what is developed on a very small local basis, and to try to connect it to the needs and ideas that are related to it in other neighborhoods. So it can help to set up something that's kind of structure or infrastructure that will work on a wider scale than just a neighborhood, and maybe even needs it to create a wider scale, because you can imagine that people that are looking for jobs are willing to move from one neighborhood to another to do the work. So it's not something that's happening within a neighborhood. So the spreading will also happen when this new infrastructure is evolving. So I think that's one of the ways to do it. So there are other ways as well. For instance, the idea of local newspapers or local media, like what Young Ostrop United is doing. They do make media productions all over New West, and even, I think, beyond New West. So they connect the stories and the narratives from other neighborhoods also by their work of making this media infrastructure. So this is very much about thinking what kind of infrastructures do we need to spread and share what we are doing. Is that a little bit of an answer to your question, Sebastian?
And maybe if I can add also to this, I don't know, Sebastian, your audio is still not working, I think, right? No. Yeah. So another thing, of course, when it comes to uniting communities and neighborhoods is maybe to learn from each other. And because, right, there are initiatives here in the Wildeman buurt who are figuring out new ways of working, but there's also other practice-based initiatives in New West and Amsterdam, for instance, also in Amsterdam North and Southeast. So a question is also, I think, like, how do we learn from each other, from other neighborhoods, because all neighborhoods, of course, are a tiny bit specific in a sense. So, for instance, this is also why the events of the Common Labs, for instance, can come into place, where different initiatives also have the opportunity to meet with each other and then learn from that. Because indeed, right, maybe it's not per se needed to only unite, right, but maybe also more spread, like different pockets of experiments and co-learning, because we are still figuring out what we have to do, right, along the way. So I think this is one of the ways that you can also sort of think on how to unite the communities in a sense. Yeah, just wanted to bring that in.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Because we have then a next step, which is the breakout rooms, but we need to prepare you a bit before you are sent out into the breakout rooms, because there are a few questions that have been prepared. I will just share my screen once more, and then Diana, you can introduce the questions. And but before I do that, I will also include them in the chat, because then I expect you will be able to see them when we move you into the breakout rooms. Let me see if this works. So here you have them. And the breakout rooms is a place where we just mix you. And then the idea is for 10 minutes to talk together about what you've learned, eventually being inspired by the questions. And then you are you just have to accept or click accept that you get into this breakout room. And then the room will close down automatically, and you will be led back into the plenum, into this room. So you don't have to do anything except accepting that you are being transferred into a breakout room. But before we get to this, I'll just a second, I will share my screen once more and let you, Diana, to introduce the questions. So please. Oh, you're muted, Diana.
Very sorry. It is just a couple of questions that came to my mind that might be interesting for you, because it's up to you to think about what your role can be and how you can help. That's why most of the questions start, or all the questions start with, how might you help doing things that can help to achieve the transitions we're looking for. And that's also why, well, I'm very interested in where you'll come up with, because asking the questions is the beginning of learning something new you didn't think about yourself. So a couple of questions about how we can shift the civic participation, where we're talking about from design with, which is quite common kind of practice we have also seen in Europe, to a community-led design. So where the residents or people in the neighborhoods can take the lead themselves and they can own the process. That's quite a leap from designing with residents. And then, of course, how can we help growing the wealth of neighborhoods and keeping it within the local communities? We also I've learned and see every time that there are a lot of obstacles, things that are people holding back to do things they actually would like to do. So what can you do to help eliminating these obstacles for operations, and then not only between residents themselves, but also between residents' initiatives and institutions. And then, yeah, and there's more to us as NGOs. How can we as NGOs evolve our own roles in local co-design? So that's a question we ask ourselves all the time, like Rosalie and I and our colleagues talk about this a lot. Maybe you have some ideas about that. And more in general, how might you initiate the transformation in your local place? So what will be the first step to do? What can you do in your own local context? So hopefully this, and if there are any other ideas about starting the conversation, it's fine. But this is to help you to start up the conversation. So I'm very curious about what will come out of this.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, so let's see what happens when I put you into just a second, I need to do a bit more. Good, so I will go to the room now and open it and mix you all. So, and then please just enter into the dialogue. You don't have to explain to each other who you are. You really just look into the questions and discuss based on what you've heard, because this is the important way to use the 10 minutes you have. So let me see it just takes a few moments. Then I open the rooms now, and you should be automatically referred back to this room when the 10 minutes have passed. So it will happen very soon. Looking forward to seeing you again. And if something is happening, because you're still, I can see if I can let you in. There's some who are still here, I see.
Is that me?
Yeah, Mike and Young Ostorp United and Marie Yusin.
Yes. How do we get from one to another then?
Yeah, but it's sometimes this happens. So I just need to put you into a room. Let me see if I can do it. Yeah. So. Let's see if I can do it. It's not very often I do it. So. Can I try with? It says you doesn't somehow Marie Yusin Tati. It says that you don't have because of this person has not access to private rooms. I don't know why. And the same with you from Young Ostorp United. It's weird. I don't really know why, but.
And I have access because I'm here for the first time, and so I don't know how it works. But
no, it's but you should be.
Do you mean me?
Yeah, you are. You don't. For some reason, you don't have.
Access or something?
Yeah.
How can I fix it? Is there a button or something to press?
There's I don't know why. It's really weird. I don't understand it. It says that you don't have access, but you should, Mike, and therefore I should try to once more if I can. It says that all.
What happened with me? It switched off, so I had to join again to join the group.
Okay, yeah, and it should be that you should access. let me see if I can access you here. It doesn't really. Oh, no. Oh. So one chosen, choose a room. Yes. And then I can't. I'm so sorry. I can't make it work for you. And I don't know why. It's really weird. Perhaps, Mike, if you could go out of the call and back into the call, and then I can try if it works. And then
All of us go out and in?
perhaps this
Okay.
is my suggestion. And
Okay.
Christine, just see if it's, yeah. So there you are, Mike.
There I am again.
Yeah, let's see if it works now. It's not working, and I'm so sorry. I tried another room. Okay, perhaps this works. Are you being transferred, Mike? No. And then I see young stop. There's something about it says that this person has not access to private rooms.
The same thing happened. It was switched off. I had to join again the group.
Oh, I'm so sorry about this. This is really annoying. But then we can perhaps make our own group here. Would that be okay? Okay, great. So, well, I don't know if you have access. Like, you can probably still see the questions in the chat, because these are, I hope so. Yeah, big questions. Big. There's one more coming here. Yeah.
So the idea is that we discuss, the four of us or the three of us, what are our answer on these questions.
Yeah, or we could also discuss what are your reflections upon? I don't know how much you've been involved. I think Young Osdorp United. I don't know what your name is, but
my name is Mohamed.
Mohamed, okay.
Yeah.
And you've been actively involved in the Desire project, right?
Yes, we have the project what you can call peaceful neighborhood.
Yeah.
Vreedzame wijk. We do a lot of video, film, art and music with young people, of course. And yes.
Okay. But the rest of you, I suppose you are a bit beyond, or you know the Wildeman neighborhood. Okay, yeah. So
I've been involved in assisting the green co-op, so putting them up, and from the team community wealth building from the main Amsterdam.
I was there also when the Green Co-op was launched, and I'm involved with young people also in the neighborhood, in the Wildeman neighborhood. And I know Martin very well because I volunteer also in the Stadsboerderij. And I'm active when I'm in Amsterdam. I live in Romania, but in this winter I was in Amsterdam. My wife lives here. And I'm a bit here also in behalf of my wife. She's working and she sent me this link, and I'm very, very interested in the neighborhood and in developing and designing the best neighborhood possible with peace and green, and that everybody knows each other.
So I'm not part of Amsterdam. I'm living in Denmark, and I'm actually living in the countryside. But I would like to know just to take one of the questions, how might you initiate a transformation in your local place? That would be my question to you. What should my first steps be if I was going to start on transforming this place, which is of course in the rural area, but we also have small villages, and people are not very engaged. So Would you have any idea to me that I can start with?
Can I start to give my answer? I think it's all about communicating and being courageous, like you mentioned before, and just stepping to people and asking them who they are, maybe introducing yourself, and then just talking with them and exchanging your ideas and trying to interest them for the ideas and to make them enthusiastic, and then a group happens.
Okay. Yeah. Courage. That's a good way to start. Build up courage. Yeah. What about the rest of you, or you have anything else to share? It doesn't have to, we don't have to go into the questions, but it could also be reflections based on what you've heard.
Yes, for the young people, it was important to have a place to come together, where the activities starts, the IDs and everything. For us was that the important space, to have a space to create things. Yeah, that's very important. Yes.
And I think sometimes also Wildeman is a neighborhood that has a lot of potential, but also a lot of problems. And in the problems, the potential grows. So a lot of solutions or initiatives came out of the fact that there's garbage on the streets, and people are being annoyed by it. Let's start cleaning it up ourselves. Let's take care of our green, our neighborhood, because the municipality is not doing it. So sometimes in problems, people are creative beings and start creating their own solutions and taking active pose.
Oh, yeah.
Becoming so fast.
This is how it works sometimes. Whew. But good to see you.
Good
you
last
all
question,
back.
Rosalie. I will get back to you.
Was it too short of time? Oh, it was. Okay. Yeah.
We have a bit of time, right? Also
Yes.
to maybe reflect a little bit on this mini introductions to each other. And we have the opportunity here to also hear the perspectives from the citizen groups. So I was wondering if there's anyone who would like to reflect on something that was discussed in this little breakout room that needs a wider audience to be heard, for instance. You can raise your hands in real life or with a digital handje if you want. Not everyone has their mic on. I think some people might also left. I don't see any sharing of hand. Oh, Diana, yeah.
Well, actually, I would like Martin or Daniel to say something, because we had a really interesting conversation, the three of us, Martin, Dan from ODG Groen Wildeman, and Daniel from Young Oosthoop United. I think it's something that we would like other people to hear, don't we, Martin and Daniel? Something of you would like to say something about it, Martin?
Daniel, maybe?
We had a really interesting conversation. The start of it was that we, also with Mohammed, my colleague, we made a video a couple of weeks ago for the Groen Corporation. And that was a really interesting video where you see one of our other colleagues interviewing and work a day with the Groen Corporation and meeting the neighborhood there and working in the neighborhood to make it greener and make it a nice place. And Young Entrepreneur was started because New West and Amsterdam Osdorp are common really bad in the media, and that affects young people as well, and also the neighborhoods. And that's why Young Entrepreneur started to make a better story about New West and to see the beautiful things in New West. And that's why we also made the documentary about the neighborhoods and see the nice stories. And what makes it really great that we see the video of Young Groen Corporation, that you see that the beauty of the neighborhood and also the people there. And what we discussed is that would be really beautiful that we connect more and more, and also the younger people and also the whole neighborhoods connecting, and also we can make a video about it, but also that we all make the neighborhoods together more beautiful and greener, and also unite with each other.
And I should add that we meet, you meet people you otherwise won't meet. You meet new people.
And you met them through the project, or also through making the video, or through by being in the project, you mean? Martin.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Martin.
Yeah, well, we met, yeah, but so practical, making together a film. That's what I wanted to say, and that was our discussion. You meet other people you won't connect with when you wouldn't make this project together. And that's joyful, we said, and that's also where it's all about, meeting new people, getting new horizons, getting more space to learn more people than you normally would. And it helps doing something practical, like in this case, making a movie together.
Yeah, so what I hear you say then indeed is that this level of cooperation also can happen more and more in between these initiatives, because you can build on each other's experience and also then understand what they're doing better. Yeah. I also saw someone in the participants who is maybe not connected to this project. Is there anyone here who is not connected to the Desire project or one of the ODGs who wants to respond or share something in response to either the total presentation or something that came up maybe in relation to what Daniel and Martin were saying? You can raise hands. I think Olga was new. Maybe someone else was new to this group. Mike. Olga, if I may ask you.
I'm happy to share some reflections. I'm not connected to the project. Generally work with communities of practice. So I was very curious as to how you went about, just to share the conversation we had in the room about being an NGO and connecting with the citizens. Was there any kind of tension around speaking the same language, coming from different perspectives and positions? And we talked a bit about, in our discussion with the two of you from the project, we talked a bit about how to connect with the municipalities as well, opening up some of the doors that might appear to be closed. Maybe conversations were not going that way before. It could be new for a lot of people to start a conversation that is open to include other perspectives. So I was curious about that. And generally, I'm amazed by the work that you've done. I am very excited to see these projects come in. It reminded me of some other projects I've heard before from Holland. I've heard of before from Amsterdam, I think it was as well. Inspiring to see the work that you've been doing in the project. And I'm connected a bit with Oze. We've spoken a few times now. Thank you for taking the time to invite me to join today. I don't know what else to say. Do you maybe have any other questions, Rosalie, that you thought of after our discussion? Because now we started the conversation, now we're kind of continuing it in front of everybody.
Well, I mean, Since we are with a diverse group of people, maybe a question to the initiatives here, like what is lacking in the system within which you work that we need to work together on, right? Is it indeed finding each other better? Is it indeed working with the municipality better? Do we need more money? What is needed, for instance, to do this more often? This can be answered, of course, by Martin and Daniel, but maybe also Maria Edith, you have an idea on it. Perhaps Mike. Don't feel obliged to take the question, but if something comes up, feel free to motivate all of us to support your work. I heard something.
And feel free just to say something. It doesn't have to be formal.
Maybe I can give a part of an answer that I have from my own experience. What I found was lacking. I'm a person that I'm used to get what I really want to do. So I just obstacles are challenges, and I take them away or jump over them. But like, for example, in the beginning, especially, I was working with young people and they needed a space for themselves. And we had meetings about it. Also with the young people, we started to invite the young people as well and have pizza parties. And then we got what they really need. And in that situation, what was missing before that we were talking about young people on the streets, but they were not involved in our group. So we invited them, and I go also to them when they're out in the streets. And first I needed to understand their language. They have a very different language, sort of local New West street boys language. And I managed to get some things clear about them. That's one thing. So the contact and to invite them and that they would be in our meetings, that was also very difficult because after 5 or 10 minutes, they don't like meetings at all. They just want to do what they do. And the other thing was the communication with the municipality. I sent an important letter that I worked out, and I got the message straight away when I pushed the button that it would take at least 3 weeks before it was answered. And I had something like, well, that's not going to work for me. So I waited patiently with the first letter, and then I had a second urgent letter because I needed some urgency as well. And I decided I'd jump on my bike and to bring it myself personally. So I printed it out and I brought it, and I sent it also via an inside canal of officials that were more involved in our group. So yeah, I mean, it's sometimes a difficult struggle, but you just have to continue and to find your way. And if you have support, it's going to work. It's going to work. But a lot of patience is needed. But you probably all know this. And for me, it's the first time that I'm in this group. I had not heard of it. I'm not used to do online things, but I think it's very, very interesting. It's very good that we are all connected now and that we have the possibility to work together even more, as much as we can.
Thanks, Mike. And I also take at heart that we should just continue, right? No matter what. I don't know how we are with time. I think there's maybe room for one reflection if there is a need, and otherwise I would happily give it back to Åse. Maria Edith, I saw that you had your mic on. I don't know if you wanted to share something. Otherwise...
Yeah, I was thinking about the language, you know, the taal.
The taal, yeah.
So difficult here because, you know, Amsterdam is very lovely with people in Amsterdam because Amsterdam translates everything in paper, in other languages.
Your microphone is a bit on and off, Maria Edith, which is, it's okay.
Yeah.
but know that we hear you half, but feel free to continue for a little bit, and otherwise I will do my best to tease out what you said.
Oh, okay. Now it's very important that in these kind of projects that could be done something about it. Like stimulate people to integrate. They do not integrate. You know, when I have groups and come only with this kind of people from one country, and then I say, oh, we have to speak Dutch, please. Please, we speak Dutch because we are in Holland, yeah, and then they speak Dutch, but it's very difficult because they are very spoiled here in Holland, really.
Yeah. So
it's very important. That is the key.
Yeah, and so language is not only about understanding different ways of working, right? Speaking a more formal language in like a policymaker and speaking a more street language, but also what you do with the language itself. Do you speak Dutch? Do you speak English? For instance, this call, right? We are doing this in English, while the majority of people who we work with never has calls in English. So there's an issue there, right? And a sensitivity. Thank you, Maria Edith. I see one last hand from Nadia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, but may I give the floor to you and closing it off? Thank you.
Thank you. My voice is a bit cracky, so I hope you can hear me. Okay. I was wondering, so I'm not from the Desire project, nor do I know. And I was wondering then because one of the questions was about the, like, how can NGOs adapt? And then for me, this raised this question of if you talk about language and understanding each other, and if for me, so I'm an artist making collaborative projects. I feel that a lot gets lost in translation, let's say, no? So where, as the NGO, how do you see, and this is a big, I don't know who the you is, this translation, kind of what is this in-between person that you can become, or how do you look at this? Because for me, this is just like the most complicated thing, no? It is the language first of different languages that we speak, but indeed this formality, and it puzzles me so much.
I can relate, but maybe someone else would like to answer. You know, Diana, how you handle the language differences, or Olga, because I think you also have experience in doing these kinds of projects.
Well, I can say something about it. I think it's a big issue because it's very much about trying to understand your own domain. What kind of artist are you? What kind of artist do you want to be? So that's up to yourself. So if you are reaching out to others because you would like to collaborate and build relationships, yeah, then it takes two or even more people to tango, because you have to build relationships in many ways. So it's very much about sensing and listening. And it was also interesting in the Desire project because a lot of people were also dealing with this, even about building relationships with nature. How do you build relationships with non-human species? So it's very much about trying to find ways to listen, sense, observe what others are looking for. And I think the discussion or the conversation Daniel and Martin and myself had in this breakout room about discovering new worlds is maybe the most important thing we need, because the willingness to discover things, to discover worlds you do not know. So it's all about curiosity and not being afraid of stepping into something you don't know. So that's very much what's going on now, that we are all looking for how we can build relationships if we want to. Because if we want to build relationships, we will find ways. Because we find ways to communicate with images, with all kind of performances or whatever beyond language, or let's say the language we know as we know it. So finding new ways to communicate is one of the big challenges we are facing. And then it can be really helpful that people like the Osdorp United young people are around, because they are young people, they are used to use other ways to communicate, like making raps or doing all kinds of communication I've never heard of. So I think it's very much about creating, let's say, the crossovers and the connections, and that are not feeling comfortable right away, and just trying to embrace this discomfort. And we had a lot of frictions in the process of the Desire project. Other sites did have frictions as well, and we all said, well, we've learned a lot from it. So because the frictions help you to go, to step over things that are holding you back in the first moments, but later on can help to build trust and to understand each other in a better way. So I think that's one of the main things we are dealing with.
Thanks, Diana and Nadja, for your question. Maybe one additional thought from my side, because I agree that a lot gets lost in translation, and so things are simplified, right? But sometimes this simplification is also a benefit, because many things are being said outside of the scope of language in its spoken form, right? There's also things that you can just feel when you are present with each other. Then you can feel where the energy is, giving sparks, and you can feel people being frustrated. And tuning into that modality, I think, of listening when working with groups from many different backgrounds is also very helpful. Because that is something that you can notice, and you don't need any translator. Well, thanks everyone for this little bundle. I will hand it over to Åsa, and I will also put some links in the chat for references on community building in Amsterdam. And I will at least leave my email here as well, for those who are interested in reaching out also to the other ODGs if they want, and we can bring them into contact.
Okay, thank you so much, Rosalie. And thank you, Diana and Martin ten Brinke, for your presentation. It's been from my perspective, been a great first Desire Pioneer webinar, and we will continue. We have a next event on the 24th of April. Still not decided on the content yet, but perhaps a co-creation session. Then we will, on the May 15, be meeting up, that's a plan, to meet up with the other Lighthouse projects and discuss, present, and also get your feedback perhaps on where is the new European Bauhaus different from other initiatives? What does it do that makes it interesting to proceed with? And then we have an event in June, which is not settled yet, except for the date, which is the 19th of June. And in August, we will be taking another Desire Pioneer webinar with the Danish Design Center, who will speak about the transformation guide that you can find on the website and interact like we have done here. But if you haven't done it yet, then you can receive, or you can fill in the contact form on the website. I don't know if I can quickly find the link, but you can go to the website and then find the Connect site. I can just very quickly put it in the link, and there you can insert your details, because then you will get updates on new webinars or new activities within this community, which we call Irresistible Cities Lab, or city makers working from an irresistible perspective. Thank you so much. It's been really a pleasure seeing you all here, and I hope we meet you at one of the the next events. So 2 minutes over time. I hope that you will bear over me with that, and all the best to all of you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Dag Pien. Ik hoor je niet. Fijne dag.
Ik ben heel even al die sites die jij... oh.